In the lands of ancient Thrace, hidden among the peaceful hills of today's Kazanlak Valley, lie the remains of a world shrouded in mystery. In 2004, the archaeological community was rocked by an unexpected discovery. Professor Georgy Kitov and his team uncovered a tomb that not only added a new piece to the puzzle of Thracian history, but changed the way we see ancient culture in the Balkans. This tomb, like the Egyptian pyramids or Tutankhamun's tomb, turns out to be a treasure trove filled with secrets and artifacts that speak of the might and complex beliefs of the ancient Thracians. This discovery completes the story of a great ruler, Seuthes III, the king who inspires to this day with his ambition, wealth, and enigmatic legacy. His tomb, located in the mound of the Great Kosmatka, is not just a place of eternal rest, but a gateway to the spiritual world of the Thracians. But why is this tomb so important? What are the stories hidden within its stone walls, and what does it tell us about the life of the ancient Thracians and the death of King Seuthes III? This journey will take us through the centuries, from the time of the Thracian kings to the dramatic day when the bronze head of Seuthes III sees the sunlight again. The ancient Thracian lands, stretching between the Danube, the Aegean, and the Black Sea, were home to one of the most enigmatic of ancient tribes, the Thracians. Although quite unspoiled compared to ancient Hellas and Rome, the Thracians built a culture that was unmatched in the richness of its mythology, art, and architecture. At the center of this culture stood the kingdom of Odria, the most significant Thracian state, which reached its heyday in the 5th to 4th centuries BC. King Seuthes III, whose reign spanned the late 4th and early 3rd centuries BC, was one of the most influential figures in the history of this kingdom. Successor to powerful rulers, he took the throne in a turbulent period after the death of Alexander the Great, when the political map of the Balkans was in chaos. Seuthes III faced threats from Macedonian rulers such as Lysimachus, who sought to subjugate the Thracian tribes. But Seuthes III was not just a warrior or a strategist, he was a visionary. He understood that for the kingdom of Odria to survive in the New World, it had to strengthen its political and cultural foundations. This is what inspired him to create Seutopolis, the new capital of his kingdom. Located in the heart of the Kazanlak Valley, Seutopolis became a symbol of Thracian strength and independence. Seuthus III chose a location that combined natural protection and strategic position. The city was built to impressive standards: a well-organized network of streets, a monumental palace, temples dedicated to Thracian deities, and massive fortress walls. Archaeologists have found traces of economic activity, including a mint, which indicates that Seutopolis was also a trading center. But the new capital was not just a political project, it was also an expression of the king's personal ambition. Inscriptions and coins found in the city often mention his name. However, admiration for it was not limited to the Thracian tribes. Even neighboring peoples recognized its power. The foreign policy of Seuthes III was a skillful combination of diplomacy and military action. He often came into conflict with the Macedonian rulers, but he also forged alliances with neighboring tribes to strengthen the position of the Artrian kingdom. Legends say that his army included not only Thracian warriors, but also horsemen and mercenaries to augment his strength on the battlefield. Despite the difficulties, Seuthes III managed to preserve the autonomy of his state. Even after the Macedonian rulers established influence in Thrace, he continued to rule with relative independence. This made him one of the last great kings of Thracian culture. But who is Seuthes III outside of his role as king? The finds in his tomb, as well as the architectural and artistic evidence from Seutopolis, tell us of a man with refined taste and a deep belief in Thracian traditions. In the autumn of 2004, the Kazanlak Valley again became the center of attention when the archaeological team of Professor Georgy Kitov made a discovery that would change perceptions of Thracian culture. In the mound Golyama Kosmatka, covered with grasses and centuries-old silence, a tomb was uncovered, which turned out to be the home of one of the greatest Thracian rulers, Seuthes III. The excavation began in the hope of new archaeological finds, but no one expected what was to come. After days of hard work, the team reaches a massive stone wall that blocks the entrance to something much larger. When the archaeologists remove the last layer of earth, they see the granite facade of the tomb for the first time in millennia. We realized we were on the verge of something extraordinary, says Prof later. Kitov. Behind the stone portal, the archaeologists discovered 3 rooms, each bearing a piece of the secrets of the ancient world. Entering these chambers turns out to be not just uncovering history, but time travel. The first room, a long corridor called the Dromos, is where the remains of horse ammunition and traces of sacrifices were found. In Thracian culture, horses were a symbol of power and greatness, and their presence in the tomb suggests the high status of the buried ruler. The second room, the round chamber, impresses with its architectural mastery. The stone blocks used for its construction are connected by iron brackets cast in lead, which guarantees their durability over the centuries. The entrance to the chamber is closed by a marble door decorated with exquisite reliefs of the Gorgon Medusa and Helios, symbols of protection and divine power. However, the real climax comes when the team enters the third room, which is a sarcophagus-like chamber. Inside, the archaeologists discover a ritual bed and table that were part of the Thracians' funerary customs. But what leaves them speechless are the artifacts found there. A golden wreath, decorated with exquisitely crafted oak leaves that symbolizes royal power. Bronze helmet, with the inscription Seuthes, which strongly links the tomb to the great king. Golden kylix, a wine cup used in rituals that were probably part of the ruler's cult practices. Remains of weapons and ornaments. These speak of the wealth and military status of Seuthes III. One artifact, however, clearly stands out from everything else found in the tomb. This is the bronze head of Seuthes III. This sculpture is not just a portrait, it is a testament to the extraordinary skill of the Thracian artists. The head is made with incredible precision. The eyes are made of alabaster and glass paste, and the eyebrows and eyelashes are made of copper. Let us recall that we are talking about the beginning of the 3rd century BC. It was found ritually buried in front of the entrance to the tomb. This clearly shows the sophisticated beliefs of the Thracians regarding passage to the next world. The moment archaeologists removed the head from the dust has been described as bringing history to life. The silence that envelops the team at this moment is imbued with the feeling that they have touched something sacred. The gaze of Seuthes seemed to watch us through the millennia, says one of the excavation participants. The entrance of the tomb is made of massive granite blocks forming an imposing facade. The stone slabs that close the entrance symbolize the transition between the world of the living and that of the dead. The bronze head of Seuthes III is placed at the entrance for a reason. It symbolizes his divine presence and his ability to watch over his kingdom, even in the afterlife. 2 important symbols are depicted on the doors of the tomb: Helios, the sun god, and the Gorgon Medusa. Helios is an expression of immortality and rebirth, while Gorgon Medusa is a guardian who wards off evil spirits. These elements were created not only as decoration, but also as protection against those who would disturb the king's peace. The round chamber of the tomb is among its most impressive elements. Its shape was not chosen by chance. The circle in Thracian culture is a symbol of the eternal cycle of life and death. The domed cover of the chamber creates a sense of infinity, and its acoustics suggest that it may have been used for rituals as well. The stone blocks that make up the dome are, as we have already said, connected by special iron brackets cast with lead, a technique that ensures the stability of the structure. This shows not only the craftsmanship of the Thracian builders, but also their belief that the tomb should be eternal in order to preserve the memory of Seuthes III through the ages. The third room of the tomb is carved from a monolithic stone block. It is shaped like a sarcophagus. In it are modeled a ritual bed and a table, which symbolize not only the king's earthly life, but also its continuation in the afterlife. This space is where the most precious gifts are placed: the golden crown, the bronze helmet, the golden kylix, and other artifacts. It is believed that Seuthes III was laid here, surrounded by objects he would need in the next world: weapons for protection, vessels for food and wine. But this tomb appears to be more than just a burial crypt. It also turns out to be the scene of ancient rituals. The sacrifice of horses, the symbolic destruction of weapons and vessels, and the elaborate arrangement of offerings are all part of the Thracian tradition of preparing the king for his afterlife. These practices suggest that rulers also had a sacred role for their people. The tomb of Seuthes III, though one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries in Bulgaria, is a site that leaves behind more questions than answers. Each artifact, each chamber, and each image reveals a piece of the mysterious world of the Thracians, but at the same time raises new mysteries. You may be asking yourself, what are the greatest secrets that the tomb of Seuthes III still holds? One of them is the absence of human remains that can be positively identified as belonging to Seuthes III. The sarcophagus-like chamber where the ruler was supposed to be laid to rest is empty. The theories are many. Some scholars suggest that the body was cremated, according to Thracian burial traditions. Others hypothesize that the remains were moved or destroyed at a later period, possibly by looters. Others believe that the tomb was created symbolically to honor the king without actually housing his body. The king's bronze head, buried at the tomb's entrance, is another element that intrigues scholars. Could it have been deliberately separated from the body as part of a ritual associated with passage to the afterlife? According to some researchers, this may have been a ritual killing, in quotes, of the ruler, which was supposed to help his transformation into a sacred spirit. On the other hand, the image of the Gorgon Medusa on the doors of the round chamber is unusual for Thracian culture. Why was this particular symbol chosen for the tomb of Seuthes III? Medusa is a figure from Greek mythology known for turning anyone who looks at her to stone. Its presence in a Thracian tomb may be related to the influence of Hellenistic culture on the Thracians, but it may also symbolize a protective function, a guardian of the king in the afterlife. Many of the artifacts in the tomb bear signs of deliberate damage: swords with broken blades, vessels with cracks, and even the bronze head, which was found in an unnatural pose, indicate that these objects were sacrificed. This is a feature of Thracian funerary rituals, but why was it so important? Damaging the objects was thought to symbolize their passage to the afterworld to serve the ruler. In this sense, the destruction itself was an act of transformation, not destruction. Even after more than a decade of research, scholars believe the tomb may hold more secrets. Modern technologies such as GPR and 3D scanning indicate the presence of potential cavities in the tomb that have not yet been explored. Could these hidden spaces contain additional artifacts or important clues to the life of Seuthes III? Or perhaps even his remains? Many elements of the tomb, such as the circular shape of the chamber, the symbolism of the imagery, and the ritual objects, suggest a connection to Orphic beliefs. Orphism is a religious movement that emphasizes rebirth and the immortality of the soul. It is possible that the tomb of Seuthes III was used not only for burial, but also for rituals associated with Orphic mysteries. This would explain why its architecture is so unique and saturated with symbolism. Moreover, the tomb is located near the capital of Seutopolis, the city of Seuthes III. Archaeologists suggest that the site was chosen not only for its strategic position, but also for its spiritual significance. Is it possible that this tomb was rather conceived as a center of cultic practices related to the worship of the king? The answer to this question remains another unsolved mystery for the time being. After all, the tomb of Seuthes III remains to this day one of the most enigmatic sites in Thracian history. Every detail of it carries hidden messages about the life, death, and beliefs of one of the greatest rulers of ancient Thrace. And while in this story we only ask where the body of Seuthes III is and what happened to it, but the story of Alexander the Great is far more mysterious, because although we know where he is buried, in the early 5th century AD St. John Chrysostom writes that the location of Alexander's body and tomb have been lost. Follow us as we embark on an incredible adventure in search of the lost final resting place of the great conqueror Alexander the Great. Just click on the video to the left to continue with this story.